if you've been following the news this week, well, we're right in the middle of a government shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
But this feels different, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's not quite the kind of, predictable political fight we've seen before.
No, it really isn't.
This whole showdown seems to have escalated into something, frankly, far more aggressive.
Yeah.
We're talking about a high-stakes legislative gridlock, sure, but combined with this unprecedented use of executive power.
Targeted funding cuts.
Exactly. Aimed
Yeah.
squarely at specific cities, often, left-leaning ones.
Yeah, we've definitely moved beyond just a simple disagreement over a spending bill. This is now, well, it's an escalating pressure campaign.
Right.
And federal dollars, money already appropriated by Congress, are being used strategically as political leverage.
Which is why this deep dive feels so necessary right now. The
No.
stakes are just staggering.
They really are. We've already seen multiple Senate votes fail just on the third day of the shutdown, and sources are indicating there's now, at least $28 billion in committed federal funding just frozen.
$28 billion. Just frozen. Across various cities and states.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the core of our analysis today. We really need to get beyond the daily headlines here. Our mission, really, is to understand the mechanics, the core political maneuvers happening.
And identify those legislative sticking points that are keeping Washington completely jammed up.
Yes, and crucially, quantify the massive real-world costs this is already having on the economy and, well, on the millions of Americans who actually rely on these basic government functions.
So where do we start? The pressure campaign itself.
Let's start there. How did this specific pressure campaign kick off?
Okay, we really had to start with the Chicago incident. That seems to be the immediate flashpoint, the thing that defined this current phase of the political battle.
Right.
Late last week, the administration froze $2.1 billion in Chicago transit funding.
And this wasn't just like hypothetical money down the line,
No,
right?
no, not at all. This was money already earmarked for specific projects. We're talking elevated train lines, real infrastructure.
That initial freeze really makes it clear, doesn't it? The strategy isn't just general budget cuts. It's surgical.
It is absolutely surgical. And the scale, that's what makes it feel historic. Sources are detailing that the total funding frozen just for Democratic cities and states is already hitting that $28 billion mark.
Wow.
So what we're witnessing is the administration basically using its leverage during the shutdown to, punish political rivals by immediately halting funds Congress had already approved.
And when they froze that Chicago money, the $2.1 billion, the administration didn't really try to hide it behind bureaucratic jargon, did they?
No, they were pretty direct. The budget director specifically justified holding the Chicago money by citing the need to ensure it wasn't, and this is the quote, flowing via race-based contracting.
Okay, race-based contracting, that's the justification.
That is the crucial political framing they chose to use. Highly specific, very politically charged justification to activate the freeze.
And context here is key, isn't it? Chicago, third largest city.
And it's frequently been, let's say, a rhetorical punching bag for the administration. There were even past threats, remember, to send in the National Guard.
Right. So using that justification, whether it's warranted or not, it basically turns a technical spending issue into a very loud political statement, aimed right at a high-profile target.
Precisely.
And the Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker, he didn't exactly hold back his response.
No, he didn't mince words at all. He immediately condemned the funding freeze, called it hostage-taking.
Hostage-taking. Strong words.
Very. He argued that, while the administration is trying to score these cheap political points, the real impact is hurting the state's economy and hurting the public transit users who actually rely on those infrastructure projects.
And this strategy, it wasn't just Chicago, right? It extended beyond the Midwest.
Oh, yeah. The targeting is explicit. We know the White House identified funds to be withheld from Portland, Oregon, too.
Another left-leaning city, known for those high-profile protests.
Exactly. And if you look at what they're targeting, the specific types of funds being frozen, it disproportionately hits transit and green energy projects.
Two policy areas that Democrats have really championed.
Heavily championed. So the pattern seems pretty clear.
But this level of, aggressive political warfare, it's starting to cause some cracks, even within the administration's own party.
It seems like it. You've got sort of two sides emerging. On one hand, you have the political calculations supporters are making, like House Speaker Mike Johnson, who apparently applauds the pressure.
Basically saying, yeah, this is leverage, use it.
Right. And you see the tactics from allies, too, like posting those social media images, with cartoon mustaches and sombreros drawn on Democratic opponents.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
saw some of that. A pretty clear effort to mock and undermine rivals,
Yeah.
using some pretty crude symbolism there.
Definitely crude. But that's where this internal Republican divide on tactics becomes really relevant. While some are doubling down on the pressure, you have others.
Like Senator Tillis.
Exactly. Republican Senator Tom Tillis. He's apparently involved in the informal talks trying to fix this whole mess, and he expressed real concern. He specifically noted that these actions create a, quote, bad faith environment.
A bad faith environment. That makes compromise almost impossible, doesn't it?
That's his point. It just poisons the well.
I mean, he's kind of highlighting the core constitutional problem here, isn't he? I mean, when the executive branch freezes funds that Congress, constitutionally appropriated.
It raises the stakes beyond just a budget argument.
Yeah, it becomes a contest over whose authority is really supreme here.
It absolutely is. And, while the big focus has been on freezing funds for Blue City Transit, the targeting isn't completely one-sided. Well, there was apparently a legal skirmish where an attempt was made to cut counterterrorism funding for some Democratic states.
Which is usually a Republican priority.
Right, but that was temporarily blocked by the courts. And plus, about $187 million in funding for New York was actually restored on Friday.
So there's this constant tactical kind of back and forth, even while the main strategy seems focused on maximizing pain for opponents.
Seems that way. It's a complex battlefield.
Okay, so the executive pressure is clearly intense. But the ultimate question is it actually working? Is it moving the needle in Congress? Let's look at the legislative side, because all this targeting and pressure, well, it hasn't actually cracked the deadlock in Washington yet.
Not at all. Precisely. Despite all the public spectacle, the Senate is completely jammed. They held votes on Friday.
Yeah.
Both funding proposals failed, dramatically. The Republican plan failed 54-44. That's 6 votes short of the 60 needed.
Only 3 Democrats supported it.
Only 3. And then a Democratic alternative was also immediately rejected. So total stalemate.
And the timeline for actually resolving this looks grim.
It does.
What's fascinating here is just the sheer logistics of the failure. The Senate adjourned until Monday, right? Which is bad enough.
But the House of Representatives will be out of town all next week.
All next week.
Yeah, that's the critical piece of this puzzle. It means even if, somehow, these informal talks manage to hash out a compromise over the weekend or maybe early next week,
The House physically can't vote on it.
they can't vote to end the shutdown until the following week at the earliest.
Wow. That delay is actually pushing this standoff into historical territory, isn't it?
It really is. If this shutdown stretches past Monday, it officially becomes the 4th longest in U.S. history.
The 4th longest. Just for context, what's the record?
The longest was 35 days. That was back in 2018-2019.
Okay, so we're rapidly approaching a duration that starts causing really systemic, painful disruptions across the board.
We are. And if we dig into why these votes failed, why they couldn't get those 60 votes,
Yeah.
the central policy sticking point, it seems focused entirely on healthcare subsidies.
Right, and this isn't just some minor detail. This seems to be the core of the political leverage Democrats are trying to use.
It appears so. They're requiring that any funding package has to include an expansion of those pandemic-era healthcare subsidies.
The one set to expire at the end of December.
Exactly. And Republicans are arguing, well, this issue should be handled separately, outside of the bill that's just needed to keep the government running.
But this isn't just a simple policy disagreement, is it? The Democrats seem to know they're holding a pretty strong political hand here.
Well, look at the data behind the subsidies. It's massive.
Okay.
Those subsidies started as part of a COVID relief package back in 2021. And right now, they help 24 million Americans pay for their health coverage.
24 million people.
Yeah. And the popularity is just, well, through the roof. According to a Kaiser Family Foundation poll, nearly 8 out of 10 Americans support keeping those subsidies in place.
8 out of 10. Okay, that tells you exactly why Democrats feel confident holding the line here. They feel like they have the public mandate on this one.
The political calculation seems entirely based on those numbers. But, while Washington argues over mandates and subsidies, the massive tangible cost of this shutdown is just growing every single day.
The sheer financial scope is just breathtaking when you think about it. We're talking about approximately $1.7 trillion in funds. for agency operations, just frozen right now.
1.7 trillion.
To put that in perspective, that's roughly a quarter of all annual federal spending, just stalled, halted.
And this is, what, the 15th shutdown since 1981? And it immediately suspends these critical functions that really affect every aspect of American life.
Like what kind of functions?
Well, basic scientific research just stops, financial regulation gets suspended, and just a vast range of other activities across dozens of key federal agencies grind to a halt.
And the economic fallout, that hit immediately, didn't it? And hard.
Oh, absolutely. On Friday, the government failed to release its monthly unemployment report.
Which is a huge piece of global economic data.
Critical. And without it, Wall Street was left, and the source used this word, literally guessing, about the immediate health of the world's largest economy.
Guessing. That kind of uncertainty, it's just corrosive. It breeds instability.
It really does. And then, of course, there's the human toll, the impact on the federal workforce itself.
Yeah. Pay has been suspended for roughly 2 million federal employees.
2 million. And think about the irony here. While essential personnel, like, troops, airport security screeners, they have to report to work.
They still have to show up.
They have to show up, but their pay is suspended just like everyone else's. They're basically working for free, potentially indefinitely.
And that delay, it has a very real financial deadline for those workers, doesn't it?
It does. If this standoff isn't resolved quickly, federal workers are going to miss their first full paycheck in mid-October.
Mid-October. Imagine being told, show up for your critical job every single day, but sorry, your next paycheck isn't coming.
Yeah. That's a staggering human cost that often just gets completely lost in the policy debates and the political maneuvering.
Absolutely. And if the shutdown gets prolonged, if this drags on past mid-October,
well, then potential disruptions start hitting major public services. Things that affect every household. It doesn't matter if you live in a red state or a blue state. We're looking at potentially serious disruption to air travel, significant cuts to food aid programs that millions of Americans rely on, and even the forced closing of federal courts. The longer this goes on, the more profound that domino effect becomes.
Okay, so what does this all really mean for you, the listener? We've just mapped out this high-stakes legislative battle. But it's complicated, seriously complicated by this unprecedented escalation.
Right, the executive branch using targeted funding cuts.
Right.
Cutting off money for vital infrastructure projects in specific cities, basically using it as political ammunition.
And the key takeaway here is that this isn't just noise happening somewhere in Washington. It's a strategy that directly impacts potentially your local transit, public aid programs, and the overall stability of the economy.
Understanding the mechanics of how this kind of political deadlock translates into federal dollars being frozen, it helps connect this strategic action back to services that you might rely on every single day.
So the core tension here, it feels like a critical constitutional fight, doesn't it? One that's likely going to define future budget battles.
I think so. You're seeing the executive branch use its power to freeze funds that Congress already appropriated, all for political leverage. And that move is being sharply criticized, understandably, for undermining Congress's constitutional authority over spending, the power of the purse.
Which raises a really important question, maybe the final provocative thought for you to consider. What are the long-term implications of this specific strategy, especially on that bad faith environment Senator Tillis mentioned in Washington?
Yeah, I mean, if every disagreement over spending can now potentially lead to this kind of punitive freezing of existing vital funds, what does that actually mean for the prospect of necessary compromise in the future, when the country absolutely depends on it?
A truly essential question to ponder, especially considering this conflict seems to have moved beyond just policy disagreements and really into the realm of raw power struggle. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the current governmental impasse.
We'll be back next time to dive into the next pile of sources.